All right. Welcome, everybody. This is a virtual site tour of the Summit at Eaton Senior Communities. I want to thank our presenters from Eaton Communities who are joining us today. I will let them introduce themselves, but we always appreciate the help. Also, just one more bit of housekeeping. If anytime you have to drop out, this recording will be up on our website. We'll send a link to that to all of the participants who registered after we get completed today. And with that, I am going to turn it over to David.
Thank you, Patrick. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm David Smart, President and CEO for Eaton Senior Communities. Just wanted to say thank you to the sponsor again, Wells Fargo, and certainly a big thank you to Housing Colorado for giving us this opportunity, and Philip for helping us out quite a bit last week in getting the session set up. Next slide.
Sorry, I just got to switch. There we go.
So Eaton Senior Communities, that's okay, is a locally owned and operated nonprofit community. We're located in Lakewood, Colorado. Our mission is to provide affordable housing in a service-rich environment that enables all to live to their fullest potential. And our vision is to become the leading creator of partnerships, innovative solutions, and communities designed to support aging well. We were founded by a little bitty church in Jefferson County, the West Alameda Community Baptist Church, a very community-minded church. Ultimately answered a survey that was done in Jefferson County that indicated the greatest need was for affordable, safe, decent housing for old people. And the church took this charge up, not realizing it was going to take them about 10 years to get this project up and running. And they actually gave up their church and the land that it was on to build what is now the residences at Eaton Senior Communities. That's our first building. It is a HUD subsidized building with a housing assistance payment contract. Opened in 1980, and there's 161 units there. The building we're talking about today, the Summit, is a renovated building, and that opened in September 2019. And I'll talk a little bit about its beginnings as an assisted living community as we move on. We do focus a lot on wellness. We embrace community partnerships, and pretty well known locally and nationally for all the service options that are available for our residents. And those are available to anybody moving into the Summit as well. Next slide, please. So the Summit is focused on the middle income senior market. And so what is that? That is folks that make too much money to qualify for support programs like Medicaid or HUD subsidy for housing, and not enough to pay for most of the market rate private pay options out there. A recent study projected that over half of the 14.4 million middle income older adults in the United States by the year 2029 will lack the financial resources to pay for housing and care. And those folks often include, those frontline healthcare workers. We're hearing a lot about them these days, teachers, government employees, or trade union members. And we're also on the first part of the wave of baby boomers. Data shows that more than half of the baby boomers have not done a great job of saving. More than half have about $104,000 in savings for their retirement, which will not go a very long way if you enter into long-term care. So we're clearly facing a crisis for those middle market senior housing availability. Next slide, please. So we put this slide together. Kate West, our Director of Community Development, put this together a while back, and we updated it recently. And what we're looking at here is resident A in Jefferson County is a person that is about at 60% area median income. That's an income of about $42,000 a year. And they qualify for Medicaid, for their health benefits, and they also qualify for subsidy through HUD. And then we look at resident B, who's 100% area median income. Their income is $70,000 a year. So that's a difference of $28,000 a year, pretty big difference. But if we go down the columns here and look at what each resident is spending, it's really not that much of a difference in terms of net income. So rent for resident A subsidized pays 30% of their income, which is equal to $12,600 a year. Resident B doesn't qualify for subsidy, so they're paying almost $20,000 a year for rent. Food expenditures are about the same. Health insurance premiums, a Medicaid resident A doesn't pay for those. Resident B pays about $4,600. Same with medical expenses. The Medicaid resident doesn't really have any out-of-pocket costs. Resident B, we're looking at close to $8,000 a year. Transportation's about the same, and then cell phone and internet. There are plans for low-income seniors, so their bill is only $120 a year versus $1,440 for resident B. Next slide, please. So you can see from the previous slide that actual income difference is almost $30,000 a year. But once resident B pays for all of their bills, the net income difference is only about $7,000 a year. And if you put that over a year, it's really not a whole lot of money to spend. The residences, Eaton's first building, as I mentioned, is HUD subsidized. We can serve people up to 80% area median income, and that's equal to $49,000 a year. In actuality, our residents average about $16,000 a year in income in that building. So we're serving very low and extremely low residents in our first building, the residences. The Summit is geared to serve people with annual incomes up to 120% AMI. That's about $84,000 a year. We also have 23 units that are eligible for Section 8 in the Summit, so it's a mixed income property. Our target is really people from 60% AMI up to 120%. Some of those folks with the lower AMIs get support from family and things like that. As I mentioned in the Summit, all of those residents have full access to everything we offer in terms of supportive services, activities, and amenities in the other building. And the two buildings are actually connected on the first floor. So they are right next to each other. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, the Summit was previously known as Eaton Terrace 2, or Assisted Living at Eaton Senior Communities. It was a pilot project with CHAFA and opened in 1988. It was one of the five first assisted living projects in Colorado. And this was at a time when assisted living was kind of a new idea. We built our building 6 stories. It has 1 elevator, and is really built to serve a social model. So not a lot of licensed nursing staff, and built to serve about 20% Medicaid residents. So as the years went on, assisted living has really changed dramatically over the last 30 years. Most products are more like a nursing home light. They have lots of licensed staff. And we were beginning to see a lot of challenges really in providing high quality care, which is our main goal. So we started talking about the challenges there probably for a good 5 years before we actually made a reposition. And so we talked over time. Board members had a very emotional attachment to the assisted living. So it was a pretty emotional process for us. But ultimately, we looked at a lot of the reasons why we were so challenged in that area in assisted living. Medicaid rates for reimbursement were really flat. They originally have never paid for the cost of high quality care. Our building was built to serve 20% Medicaid. By the time we closed, we were budgeting 50% Medicaid and serving up to 70% at times. And that's because assisted living became pretty overbuilt in Lakewood, lots of competition for private pay residents. And then we were seeing the acuity level of residents coming in were beyond our capabilities in terms of meeting their needs. Staffing was a real challenge, keeping good staff. There were increased regulations and increased liability. And so over time, we looked at all kinds of options on what to do with that building. You name it, we thought of it. But ultimately, we decided that there was a growing need for housing and services for middle income seniors. Next slide, please. So before I get going on this, I think I want to mention while we were doing the strategic planning around the summit, we really did have a lot of passionate debate with our board of directors and our leadership team. And we had one board member, near the end after we'd been through years of talks, and he made a comment that I think changed a lot of people's mind. And he said, and I'm paraphrasing here, but, Eaton was a leader in developing assisted living 30 years ago. And maybe it's time to be a leader in something else, and it sure sounds like housing for middle income seniors is a need that we can fulfill and keep to our mission. And I think that really changed a lot of people's minds. And we're proud to be at the forefront of filling this gap. So how do we finance this? We worked with Lancaster Pollard and Rob McAdams on the refinancing. Rob and Lancaster Pollard, we looked at HUD financing. We looked at going through the tax credit application process and a variety of other things. And we ultimately decided that those other avenues would probably just take us too long and were a bit too uncertain for us. So we ended up doing a traditional tax-exempt bond financing. Bonds were issued by Colorado Health Facilities Authority, a group that we've had a long-term relationship with. We refinanced about $8 million and added approximately $6.5 million for a construction loan for a total refinance of about $14.5 million. The assisted living building went from 66 studio apartments with kitchenettes in them to 64 independent living units. So for a renovation cost of about $100,000 per unit. The covenants that come with the financing are minimal. Our debt service coverage ratio is 1.15. Reserve payments are equal to $300 per unit per year, up to $135,000 a year. The loan is non-recourse. 30-year amortization, 10-year term, and a 4.71 interest rate. Next slide, please. So a little bit about the construction and development. As I mentioned, Lancaster Pollard used for the financing. Previous to the financing, we had a market study conducted by Elizabeth Borden and the Highland Group, which I'm sure is familiar to most people listening. We used EJ Architecture for our architects, and that's Elizabeth Johnson, Alex Artell, and Sarah Webb. Our construction company, Pinkard Construction, and we worked with Tony Burke and Blake Chambliss. And we put this group together. We've known Elizabeth for a long time. We trust her, as does everybody else. The architects, Elizabeth has been doing work with us for many, many years on various projects around our community. And we've had a relationship with Pinkard for a long time. They do a lot of senior housing stuff. And both of those groups are located in Lakewood, and we felt like they would do a really good job for us, and they did. And it was nice to kind of keep things local. So we went from 66 assisted living units with kitchenettes to 55 one-bedrooms and 9 studios. And those all have full kitchens in them, and a total of 64 units. In order to go from a studio apartments to mostly one bedrooms, because this was an assisted living community, there was a lot of common space, activity spaces, office spaces for staff. We had a community room on the first floor for gatherings, and we basically took most of that common area to accomplish the 64 units. It was about 9 months of construction. They started construction in December of 2018. They did have a month or so start on demo, so that helped quite a bit to get us going. This is probably familiar to you, but to many of you, but we ran into a hiccup sort of midway through construction with some very, very important papers sitting on a person's desk for 4 weeks. And so that was fun. But ultimately, we were able to make up most of that ground. We opened on September 1st, 2019. We are currently 50% occupied, 64% pre-leased. We're just a little bit behind our pro forma. And of course, all the coronavirus stuff has not been a help, but things are still moving, so we're happy about that. Next slide. So at this point, I think we'll pause. I'm not seeing the chat thing, Patrick. I don't know if there's any questions at this point.
I don't have anybody who has shared any questions yet, but we'll give them just a second if anybody has any questions right now, or we'll obviously have more opportunities in just a few minutes. Does anyone have any questions for David before we hand it over to Jordan? All right.
Okay.
Let's continue then.
All right. I'm going to hand this over to our Director of Resident Services at the Summit, Jordan Harris.
All right. Thank you, David. Thanks for being here, everyone. My name is Jordan, and like David said, I'm the Director of Resident Services over at the Summit. So my main job is to manage the lease up and provide the residents with services on-site and off-site. So I did see a question just pop up. I don't know if we want to tackle that now or keep it moving.
Oh, let's go ahead and tackle it. Yeah. Just a quick question. So to be clear, are there still units available to lease?
Absolutely. Yep. We do have immediate availability.
Cool. And another question, how do you pay for the services? The services you offer your...
So some of those...
Oh,
Go
Jordan,
ahead.
that's okay. It's Diana. I was just going to say, I can address that in my part of the session since I'll be
Okay.
talking about the service.
Perfect. Let's hold on to it for that then.
Awesome. All right, well, I will go ahead and continue on here. So what makes the summit unique? So we offer a lot of innovative programs. Eaton offers a robust variety of free services and programs for residents. Many of these programs are the first of their kind. We also have affordable rents. So rents are just starting at about $1,000 a month with utilities included. They do go up to about $1,450 per month with utilities included. The only utility that they are responsible for is a $20 phone charge. That's just how they're going to let their guests in and out of the building, and then Comcast if they wanted it. We do not have an entrance fee, so many other senior living communities do require an entrance fee for their retirement community. These can often be $100,000 or more, so we do not require that. We also do not require an application fee to apply. So that is always nice as well. And then just the on-site services that we do offer. So the Summit offers many of the same services and amenities of a high-end retirement community, but at affordable price points. The Summit is also much more than an apartment building. It provides a sense of community and a wide range of services for seniors that a lot of people can't find anywhere else. So we've been really proud to offer them these services. Next slide, please. So next we'll just go into another chart here, kind of comparing the independent living communities. As you can see in column 1, we've got the Summit and then community A, B, C, and D. You can kind of see where the monthly rents are starting. The Summit is obviously going to be one of the cheaper ones. We do have community B that comes a little bit lower than the Summit, but you can see that it doesn't have a lot of those services, activities calendar, service coordinator, housekeeping services, things like that. The other communities where you are going to get that, those are starting at about $4,400 per month. So quite a big increase. And that's been the really, really cool part of working on this project, is to see your rent start at $1,000 and be able to still offer the activities calendar, service coordinator, dining options, fitness center, all of those services that are tied in, and still able, to make that affordable each month. And you can kind of see in the other columns that some of them do have housekeeping, all of them have a fitness center, but those important pieces like a service coordinator or housekeeping services and the dining options are pretty important. All right, next slide, Philip, please. All right, so we've got the virtual tour. Are these embedded, Philip, or are you going to share another screen? Philip?
There we go. Sorry about that. I thought I unmuted. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and share it on a different screen. If you'll all just bear with me. And we've got one that's, I don't know which is which, so I'm just going to play one of them, if that's all right with you.
Yeah.
These are just short videos, and I'll let you narrate for me, Jordan.
Thank you. Yeah, so I would just go a little bit in to the apartments here. So this is our Pikes Peak model, and you can just play it through. Philip, I think I've allowed enough time throughout it, hopefully. So you can see got a galley kitchen. Like I said, this is our Pikes Peak. It's 500 square foot, and it goes for $1,350 per month. We do have these units available. So got some really nice recessed lighting above the bed, adds a nice modern touch to it. You've got some great closet space off to the right. And the other nice feature of this is you do have the bathroom connected to the bedroom. Some of our floor plans offer the bathroom kind of off the entry or not as close to the bathroom. So something to look out when you're looking for your clients. Got some great shelving. Really nice walk-in showers. We do not have any tubs available. So that's been really, really nice for our residents, being able to, properly shower. Like we said, walk through, you've got a galley kitchen here. Really, really nice cabinetry, all brand new cabinets. Really nice big open one there. And then you've got brand new appliances, flooring, and all of the appliances, flooring, cabinetry, those are going to be the same throughout all of our apartments at the Summit. Really just depends on square footage and price. So you've got a little space for a dining area. One of my favorites is the floor to ceiling windows. You just don't see that too often anymore. So really, really nice natural light being let into the apartment there. And then just another look into the living room area. And again, this is the Pikes Peak. It is 500 square foot and goes for $13.50 per month. All right, so next we're gonna look at our Black Mountain. This is actually our Mount Princeton, I'm sorry. So this is actually one of our ADA units. So this one comes equipped with, they all have grab bars in it. This one has a little bit extra, some lower countertops. And then this one is 520 square foot and goes for $13.50 per month. Again, you've got the recessed lighting as well as just kind of that open flow right back into the kitchen and then back into the entryway there.
Give me 1 second, I'll get us back to a slideshow.
Awesome.
Where did we leave off here? All right.
All right, so now I am going to hand it over to Diana Delgado.
Actually, before you do, Jordan, one of the questions that popped in, I think, is probably relevant to you. So if you don't mind, I'm going to just pop that in here. So someone's asked, has the leasing changed much during the pandemic? Are future residents more or less concerned how COVID will affect them in the community? So what kind of impact have you seen from the current pandemic?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely are getting people that are concerned, as would I be, especially a lot of people are coming from out of state, so their kids are really concerned about that. Eaton as a whole, though, has just been wonderful in kind of preparing our residents to deal with, certain situations like this. So when they move in, they're going to get a whole sheet just kind of explaining what they have to do. We do encourage them to quarantine for 14 days after move-in. So it looked a little bit different the first month that we were kind of into this, but now we're starting to see it pick back up again and really just being very, very safe and precautious with movers coming in the building, residents moving in, and kind of giving them the guidelines.
Great, thank you.
Philip, let me just add real quick, sort of at the beginning of this, the COVID-19 restrictions, I think we actually put up a Facebook ad that, for all the reasons people should be moving in.
Mm-hmm.
We're, it's a secure location. We're, reducing our visitors. We have a meal program so people aren't so reliant on getting to the grocery store. So we kind of put together 4 or 5 points of why people should be thinking about moving in because of COVID-19 and what we're able to do that they couldn't do at home.
Yes, thank you, David. Great point.
Okay, we ready to move on with me? Thank you, Jordan.
Yep, you got it.
All right. Good afternoon. I'm Diana Delgado, and for the last 12 years, I've been the Executive Vice President at Eaton Senior Communities. And one of my roles at Eaton is to spearhead the organization's culture of wellness. Back in 2010, Eaton's board and leadership team conducted a strategic planning retreat at which we developed a strategic initiative to further develop a culture and philosophy of wellness. The founders had been very intentional about providing services on site when our community opened in 1980. And so in 2010, we really made a commitment to further that vision and expand the health and wellness services that we were able to provide on site. And part of that initiative was finding the right person to fill the role of our wellness director. That role is really meant to build community partnerships that are necessary to bring services on site. So we hired Sarah. She's been the key to building the programs around what we consider 8 dimensions of wellness. She works hand in hand with our service coordinator. That service coordinator is in our HUD building. They've worked really hard over the years to build these partnerships. The main difference between their positions is that our service coordinator assists residents with outside community resources. So, helping residents apply for Medicaid or secure food commodities or helping them arrange transportation. Our wellness director is responsible for cultivating the partnerships to bring the health and wellness providers on site. And as you can see on this slide, there definitely is an array of medical providers and wellness services that residents can access on site. For example, our massage provider offers massage in 15-minute increments for $10. So residents can access this service affordably. These services that we bring on site are either low cost to the resident because we do not charge the providers for utilizing our space because we want them to provide their services at an affordable cost. But the most of the services are covered through insurance. Next slide, please. We also have a very robust social wellness program. We have a director of life enrichment who's responsible for providing a wide variety of social activities. And as you can see on the slide, it includes exercise, art classes, outings to restaurants, et cetera. Obviously, some of these are interrupted right now with our dealing with the COVID crisis, but hopefully we can get some of these back up and running shortly. In addition, our mission and ministry department provides spiritual wellness in the form of church services, Bible study, and then prayer and share groups. We also have a housekeeping department that provides housekeeping, laundry, and trash services for a fee. Next slide, please. David alluded earlier to our innovative programs and partnerships that have garnered national attention. So we just wanted to highlight a few for you today. As you know, mental health support can be challenging in the senior population. We do have a partnership with Jefferson Center for Mental Health. They have a program called Senior Reach, which provides 12 short-term counseling sessions for residents who are struggling with, things like moving into a congregate setting or dealing with anxiety or even issues such as grief. If the resident needs more mental health support after those visits, they're referred to Jefferson Center for Mental Health for continued support. Legacy Healthcare is our on-site physical therapy and occupational therapy provider. They've been in our building for about 10 years. They're able to provide therapy services to help people prevent falls, adjust to their new environment if they've just moved in, or even recover from knee replacements, just as an example. Eaton serves as a pilot site for several ventures, and one of them including Inhabitech here on the slide. Inhabitech is a startup company that offers smart home technology at affordable prices. This technology can help either predict changes in health and daily habits and can then prevent falls. Optum is a program through United Healthcare in which a resident has to functionally qualify, and Optum provides an on-site nurse and a nurse practitioner to help the resident manage chronic conditions and act as a liaison to their primary care physician. Bloom Healthcare is a primary care physician provider. They're a house call program, so the primary care doctor comes to you. Both Bloom and Optum have developed a really great relationship in our community. We've built up the census for both of them so that they really do provide a comprehensive primary care team for our residents. And then MSU Denver, I'm going to talk about in a little bit more detail in another slide. But lastly, we partner with a veterinary clinic to provide support to our pets. Between this service and the mobile dog groomer, Eaton's pets are very well cared for. Next slide, please. So in the next few slides is just going to highlight a few partnerships. This one has been a fun one. We were approached by the University of Denver in late 2014 to be a pilot site for the development of a companion robot. They needed a senior housing site to conduct focus groups and one-on-one interactions between the residents and the robot. And this is to work towards a robot called Ryan. So Ryan, the name Ryan was chosen because it can be either male or female. So as you can see on the slide, Ryan has been several iterations. I think the second iteration was the bear. I don't think the residents like the bear very much, so they went back to the one on the right, which is being further developed so that the arms move, the neck moves, and the face can actually predict your mood. So the goal of Ryan is to help with depression, help with dementia. As you can see, that the tablet in the torso can be programmed with games and pictures, helping with cognition. And then also Ryan is helpful in children with autism. One of our residents actually cried when Ryan left her apartment because she had had Ryan for 30 days and developed quite a relationship with Ryan. And so with seeing that kind of outcome, it just goes to show that this robot truly can be a companion. Next slide, please. So another partnership is that of Cycling Without Age. For those of you who have never heard of Cycling Without Age, it's an international program that began in Denmark in 2012. When the founder, Oli Kasau, saw the opportunity for those who cannot ride a bike anymore to, quote, have the right to the wind in their hair, unquote. He created a trishaw, which you can see here, where the passengers sit in the front and the pilots in the back and can be assisted by an electric motor. So we were approached years ago by the City of Lakewood Bicycle Advisory Team to purchase a trishaw. So we partnered with them to fundraise to purchase a trishaw. And then the City of Lakewood caught on to that, and they also purchased a trishaw, both of which are housed on Eaton's campus. The City of Lakewood employees and the Bicycle Advisory Team volunteer to be pilots. So they are able to be trained, and then they can come out and volunteer to take residents for a ride. It is a free program, so residents are able to increase social connectivity, and it's a wonderful addition to our community. They can ride to the farmers market or the Friday night concert series or just explore Lakewood, which hopefully they can get out and do here soon. Next slide, please. So lastly, our partnership with the Metropolitan State University of Denver has been one of the most successful programs. About 7 years ago, Eaton became an internship site for the integrative healthcare students. We just had kind of a generic wellness internship in which they shadowed with our wellness director. The more we worked with the students, we realized that their curriculum included wellness coaching, and several of the students we were working with were planning to become wellness coaches post-grad. So we actually caught onto that quickly and created a wellness coaching internship position. For those of you who don't know what wellness coaching is, it's really a change agent that shifts the culture and delivery of healthcare from dependency to empowerment. So for example, when you go to the doctor and the doctor tells you need to lose weight and change your diet and then just sends you home, you don't have the tools in your toolbox to really make those changes. So the wellness coach helps people obtain the tools for their toolbox so they can create, reasonable action steps to reach those goals. So after creating the wellness coaching internship position, we saw what a win-win it was for the students because they were getting their practice and being able to build up hours to get their credentialing. And our residents, we were seeing a lot of qualitative data. We were seeing residents lose weight. We were seeing people become more socially engaged who wanted to work on those kind of goals. So we went after a research grant and partnered with the University of Denver to start collecting data around our wellness coaching program. So we do a pre-coaching questionnaire and a post-coaching questionnaire and collect biometrics on the residents. This is all voluntary, of course. and are able to hopefully start mining that data here soon, because we've been doing the data collection for about 3 years. So we're excited to see the quantitative data in addition to that qualitative data we already see. So just to wrap up, the success of Eaton's health and wellness programs is really about community partnerships. It's all about building those partnerships, and also the dedication of staff to ensure that residents do have access to those partnerships. We are also, Eaton is a community partner. We're able to assist other housing communities with developing these sorts of community partnerships. So if you have questions about that, you have our contact information here on the slide. And we really enjoyed presenting to you today. We can open it up for questions.
Okay, thank you so much, Diana. So I believe that the question about how you pay for services has been answered. That looks like you get most of it through insurance and these partnerships. Jim, if that didn't answer your question, or if you have more clarification, of course, chat that in now. Does anybody else have any questions for these folks? Gives people just a couple of seconds to type. Not all of us can type very fast. Well, great. As I said, the slides have been sent out to everybody, but there'll also be a link sent out that will have access to the slides, which includes their contact information. So it's got a great offer there to partner with Eaton if anybody wants to initiate any of that, or has any questions for David, Diana, or Jordan. Please reach out, and then the recording will also of the webinar will also be posted on our website. And is there, oh, I'm sorry, perfect. We just got one more question. Can you talk a bit more about the cost for residents who have Medicare, Medicaid, LTC versus private insurance? So are the costs different for people who use private insurance versus those who are on Medicare and Medicaid?
Well, it's really going to depend on what their insurance is, but most of our providers, take all of those insurances, private insurance as well as Medicare and Medicaid. We have a handful of people on the long-term care Medicaid, the waiver program, so they're able to get services through certain providers. But as far as the folks who come on site, we vet them to ensure that they can take most insurances. The only insurances that we have issues with is Kaiser and Innovage, because they're a closed system. So those folks still have to go outside of our community to get those services.
Interesting, thank you. All right. Once again, unless there are any other questions, thank you so much to David, Diana, and Jordan. Thank you to Wells Fargo for sponsoring today, and hope everyone has a great day. I'm going to go ahead and end the recording now, and everybody have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you.